So let's take a look here at positive slope. The reason we know the slope is positive is because as x increases, and keep in mind that x increases to the right because here is my x-axis. As x increases, in order to stay on the line, what is happening to my y value? As x increases, y increases. And that is, by definition, a positive relationship or positive slope. Some people often have the question, well, what if x decreases and y decreases? Wouldn't that make it a negative slope? Well, keep in mind that the definition of slope is change in y over change in x. And what happens when you put two negative numbers in a fraction? We have a negative number, in this case, negative 6 over negative 3. And a negative divided by a negative is actually a positive. So even if they're both negative, it's still a positive slope. Conversely, let's take a look at negative slope. It's a negative slope if, as x increases, in order to stay on the line, y is decreasing. So they're now doing the opposite thing. X is increasing, y is decreasing. And in this instance, we have our, if you look at rise over run, if you will, or change in y over the change in x, the change in y is 2, or in fact negative 2, and the change in x is a positive 4. So in this instance, our slope would be negative 1/2. But notice that reading from left to right, when it's a negative slope, the line appears to be going down. Going back to our positive slope, reading from left to right, our line appears to be going up. So a positive slope goes up from left to right, a negative slope goes down from left to right. Well, let's take a look now at a zero slope. If we just choose any 2 points on this line, as x increases, what's happening to the y? It's not going up or down either direction. It's not changing at all. So the change in y in this case is equal to 0, and the change in x could be any number. So, but 0 divided by any number, any real number, let's just use 3 for this instance, is still going to be a slope of 0. So a horizontal line is an example of a zero slope. In fact, any horizontal line will have a zero slope. Now we get to the trickiest one, undefined slope. In this instance, what happens as x increases? Wait a minute. For this function, x never increases. X doesn't change at all. So we can't use that dependency of x because y is now changing independently of any changes in x. So in this case, first off, it's not a function, and we know that from the vertical line test. Obviously, a vertical line would fit every point on a vertical line. But in this instance, it's not a function, and also there's an undefined slope. Because if we look at now, our change in x is 0. Any number divided by 0, by definition, is undefined. We are not allowed to divide by 0. So we call this an undefined slope.